Perfect. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here again with a bunch of very interesting insights. I can see a bunch of names that have been with us before in different webinars, and I can see a lot of new names. So, you know what, we wanted to try something new this time, do a live tear down, put together notes, and walk you through what it means to look at a website from a third-person perspective. We are looking at two sites today. We had a lot of opt-ins, so we want to cover more. And I'm going to pick up a lot of examples from all the submissions that we have. I also have a lot of examples from our existing customers. And I'm so glad that we're able to do this. Thanks so much for joining. And I'm sorry if the music was not to your taste, but I was just trying to avoid awkward silences. But I'm sure there are a few ZZ Top fans in the audience today. So before, without further ado, I just want to set context very quickly and then jump into the audit itself, because we have a lot to cover. Unlike normally when we do a webinar, we have like a 20-25 list of things that we want to generally go after. This time it's a little bit different. So I have a lot of examples to show as well, and I want to make sure I cover both. A few things to add context. Now, as far as ConvertCart goes and our experience goes, we currently work actively with more than 500 e-commerce businesses and help them optimize their conversion rate and also put their email marketing, take the email marketing to the next level. And in all of that process, we've learned a lot about what works and what doesn't work. So the intention here is to do a teardown of a couple of e-commerce sites, which are different products, different industries. But I've tried to include examples so that we can look at everyone that's on the call today, because I know we've got submissions from fashion, health supplements, people selling tactical equipment, all kinds of things. So I'm confident everybody will have a solid takeaway from the call today. But at the same time, I am open for questions. So how we're going to do this is I'm going to just walk you through everything I have. You can put any questions you have in the Q&A or in the chat. If it is relevant to what I'm talking about in that moment, I'll try and take it then and there. I'm the only one managing the show here as far as the chat and everything else goes. So I'll try and do my best. And I'm confident I have something interesting to share with you. So let's jump right in. And let's kick it off with the first website. Without further ado, I have a couple of angle. Yes, we are recording this, but we don't normally release it immediately because it needs some editing, etc. So yeah, and we don't allow AI recorders as well. So that's another thing. But we'll try our best to release this as soon as possible. But I mean, I've tried to pack in as much as I can in as little time as I can. So I'll try and gift back I can to you. Right. So we have two websites we're going to take a look at. The first one is CareX. They do at-home medical care equipment for seniors. All very interesting site. Lots of SKUs. They have I think they have a very good customer following / a customer love that they have. Site is fairly well put together. So that's always a good thing. If you are at 0, going to 10 or 20 miles an hour is always easy. But then when you're already at a 60 miles an hour, going to 120 is where the real task is. So we are going to do this, the first one. The second one we're going to get after. This is Legion Athletics, a really popular health supplement company. They're one of the few that do, you could say, clean supplements. There's another couple of competitors that I've looked at while looking at them. And so, great brand. They have a solid team behind them. They're fairly famous. So, they also submit the requests. And a lot of other brands did. Very hard to pick. But we wanted to pick two that can maximize, the advice or the good kind of examples that we can show on the call today. All right. So we begin with CareX. How we've done this is also taken the site kind of page by page. So we'll start with the homepage, go to collections, product, and then cart. And then I'll try and show you an example of each one of those issues that I see with either our existing customers or cases where we've run tests, a mix of everything. So let's get after this. Now, I think what we've already established is what CareX is. What's also extremely important to establish for any brand, and I would want to encourage everybody here to do that exercise, is to, on a piece of paper, articulate in as much detail as possible who your ICP or who your ideal customer is, right? So if it is, for example, men and women between so and so located in this area with this much annual income are likely to be having X, Y, and Z conditions. So what that allows you to do is put yourself in the user's shoe, and that allows you to look at the site less as a shop and more as a solution to problem that they're trying to solve, right? So the other reason that we've chosen these two sites is they both represent two very different types of products. I'm going to go into that aspect of conversion optimization at a fundamental level. So let's begin with CareX. We will start with the homepage. And just as you land, the first thing that you see, like in any other website, is the banner. I saw a bunch of fashion sites today which submitted okay, I'm just going to check that real quick. If it's for me alone or if it is something else, give me a very quick moment. So, okay, give me a moment. Okay, I am on a different connection now. I hope it works. Somebody on my team can let me know about that. I'm going to keep going so that we can keep this train running because I have a lot to pack in the next few minutes. So the first thing that you see as you land on the website is the banner. And the thing about the banner is that it's extremely overrated as far as e-commerce goes. Every website spends an outsized amount of time to make the banner look amazing. And the problem with that is that it takes the lion's share of space on your homepage. I am right now on a 30 odd inch, I think somewhere around that monitor. And so I am a little bit better because I can see the collections down below. I can see everything else. But if you were on a laptop, this banner takes up most of the space. And the problem with that is that you are trying to get a lot of attention on just one message. In this case, it is spring into health sale. And so what we definitely want to do here is two things. First is make this banner a little bit more call to action friendly. In this case, it's not even clickable. The second is not stick to just one small message or one small aspect when you're trying to put a banner together. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples. The first one is DK Hardware. They're one of ConvertCart's customers. And so in their case, there's a lot that is packed in to the first fold of the website. In fact, instead of banner, I want us to look at the first fold. So you have all of their primary collections. You have the banner, which is a visual representation of what's really happening. And then, of course, subcategories in the banner itself. All of these are buttons. What you're trying to do here is to give the user an immediate next step. Now, Legion Athletics, on the other hand, does a good job here. They try and establish what their promise is, who they are, why they exist, and then they want people to go to the next level, either look at on-sale products or most popular products and so on and so forth. So I feel banners are overrated. We've done multiple A/B tests where we've optimized this for our customers. And we've also looked at a lot of data to do it in the right way so that we are prioritizing the right call to actions, the right collections, everything in the right way. So I feel that's the first most important thing is to not pay too much attention to your banner. I feel it's overrated. The second thing that matters is the category selection or the first next step you want people to take. So now when you land on the site, there are a few things a user can do. You have two types of users, really. People who know what they want and people who don't know what they want. Now, the ones that know what they want is going to be a smaller percentage. And they're going to go and search. In which case, what matters is how prominent and how visible your search is. Like in this case, if I scroll down, the header is not sticky, so the search disappears. So I'm left struggling with collections and the search goes away. So that's a small thing. The second thing that matters is, does your search enable discovery in an entire way? So for example, if I just search for cushion, now this site has, by the way, this site has many cushions and many types of cushions. It has cushions for sitting comfort, for back, etc., etc. But generally what it does is that it gives me 3 suggestions. That's it. And that's true for all the categories that I would search. If I search for back pain, it would give me 3 suggestions within back pain. And I'm not sure what the algorithm is, but it would prioritize things on the basis of a certain few criteria. If you go into their back pain collection otherwise, and if you sort it by best-selling, their top 2 best-selling products actually don't show up in the search results when I search for back pain. So there's something missing. It's not that straightforward. So my recommendation is to use a search that can really make discovery extremely easy, right? So I'm going to, for example, show you here on this bedsheet store that we work with. I search for fitted. It instantly shows me recommendations. I can filter through them on the basis of size, price, and other aspects that matter to me. And I can go straight to the product. So search is not limited to a few selections. It is an entire discovery tool. And I feel it's extremely important. Now I'll give you some stats. People who use the search bar convert 5 to 8 times better than people who don't use the search bar. Also, abandonment after using search should be very, very low, meaning that's your highest intent customer that asked for something. They walked into the store and they knew exactly what they want. So we definitely don't want to lose them. So I think you can very easily set up your GA4 in a way where it gives you these metrics. It should tell you how many people use the search bar, how many of them actually convert after using the search bar, how many of them bounce off, and then you can kind of double click on those metrics, figure out where it's happening. Is it mobile? Is it desktop? Is it paid traffic? Is it organic? The devil is in the details. So I recommend you go into that. Generally, if you use a search that is powerful enough, it also gives you a lot of insights about how much revenue it drives, what kind of conversion rate you have with search and without search, right? Is the average order value higher or not? So I feel it's, again, search is extremely underrated. Only a small percentage of your traffic uses it, but it's extremely crucial. The second thing that matters is if they don't know what they want, they will take the traditional route to discover products, in which case they'll go into collections and categories and so on. And so there are 2 options here. I can go into drop-downs here, or I can engage with all of the category call to actions here. Now, let's talk about the second one first. The thing about the buttons that you see here, and a lot of websites do this, is create banner or image-based buttons. They're okay if they look like buttons, but if they look like images, they often get ignored. In this case, there's too much happening. There's an image that might or might not be relevant to the category it's representing. And then the text on top of it might or might not be very readable, especially this site where a lot of elders are shopping. So you want to be extremely ADA compliant. You want to make sure that the site is as binary as possible. It should be extremely easy to find things and go to the next level, which again comes back to my original point of knowing who your ideal customer profile is. And remember that, because that is going to be even more relevant when we get into Legion. Their ideal customer profile is completely different from what it is for CareX. And that's why some of the advice I'm going to share is going to be overlapping, but the way you execute that advice is going to be completely different from both those brands, right? Now, what do we want to do instead of these images? I already showed you a site, which is Pete Skin Sheets, one of ConvertCart's customers. In their case, if you see, some of the advice that I've given so far is implemented. The banners are broken down into 3 separate messages. So we are doing free gifts, 40% off site-wide, and so on. Then you have a shop by color. Then we move to trust, and so on. The other example I've already shown you is DK Hardware. I want to show you one more, which is Appleek. In their case, a very simple kind of layout of buttons that makes life easy. I'm going to show you another one, which is Makesy. In their case, they're using images for buttons, but they look like buttons. And that's the big difference. So I feel prioritizing images or aesthetics is important, but kind of making sure you meet the goal that the customer is trying to achieve with you is even more important. So that's where the whole category CTA's point comes from. The other thing I recommend here is to A/B test page organization. So if you see what's happening with CareX is the general hierarchy. So you've got the navbar banner, followed by these image buttons, followed by in the news, followed by shop by condition, right? Whereas if you were to personalize this experience, shop by condition would be significantly more important because it allows you to know what the customer is on the site for. Are they here because they suffer from osteoporosis? Or are they here because neck pain is an issue? Because if you've narrowed the customer down a little bit with neck pain, then you have that piece of information about them. And then you can personalize the rest of the experience. So I feel instead of categorizing them into boosting well-being with light therapy lamps, which is a specific category which does a specific few things, I think it's significantly more important to slot the customer into the exact problem they're coming to you and try to solve. The reason CareX does this, in my opinion, is because those are the categories that sell the most for them. They have Pain relief aids, that's one of their best-selling products. They've sold more than 1 million of them, and so on and so forth. They have, light therapy labs and so on. So I think those things are important for the business. So they assume everybody coming to the website finds them equally important, which is correct, which is okay. Pareto principle is alive everywhere, right? So 80% of the revenue will come from 20% of the products. But the secret to improving conversions is knowing who is on your site and serving to them exactly what they want. That's what Google thrives on. That's what Amazon thrives on. Do you know that the world's biggest product search engine is not Google, it's actually Amazon. More products are searched on Amazon than on Google in any given year. And so how? Because Amazon is the largest product catalog in the world, and naturally that's where people find their answers, whether they're looking for home supplies or anything else for that matter. Moving on, trust is extremely, extremely important in the business that CareX is in. That is also true for Legion. But it's important, and we'll talk a lot about that today in both the sites. What's important is how trust is executed, because for the most part, that's where businesses go wrong. Now, what CareX has done here is kind of mentioned how they've been mentioned in the news. Interestingly, the features that they have in news are not bad at all, right? So they have this Daylight Classic Plus, right? Affordable, adjustable height and angle, backed by experts, etc. So there's so many good things that this review site is saying about their products. But the thing is that all they've mentioned here is that US News actually mentioned them, right? Also, these logos might or might not be very recognizable. So putting the logo alone might not meet the goal of creating trust. How you instead want to do it, and I have put an example here. It's a text-based example, but I think it'll drive the point home, is to actually mention a quote from what they're trying to say. For example, CareX is redefining independence at home, smartly designed products, etc. Right? So pick a quote from the actual review that's there, because all of those sites actually have great reviews. Because those logos are not going to matter. What's going to matter is what's in them. Why should somebody trust CareX? Is it the support? Is it the quality of the product? Is it the fact that it's the best in the category, etc.? So I think that's something, again, what I meant is the goal was good. The goal was to create trust, but the execution of that goal is where the magic is. And when you want to implement something like this, go ahead and A/B test it. That's what we do for a living. For example, ConvertCart runs 12,000 experiments a year. We also send out millions of emails which are A/B tested for our customers every month. So I cannot emphasize enough on how important personalization is, how important A/B testing is, experimentation is when you're making any changes to the experience. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is personalization. Now, I've been surfing on this site for a very long time because I've put this entire analysis together and I've done that. And I've looked at many, many products. I've looked at cushions. I've looked at a bunch of different things. The thing is that the site does not adapt to me. So if I go back to the site, it does not show me recently viewed products, etc. Now, the problem with that is the classic marketing funnel. You are solving only for people who've just come to you. You're not solving for people who are in consideration stage. Generally, if you are selling something that's more than a few dollars, more than $50 or $100, chances are you will convert that user in 1.x visits, meaning more than 1 visits. And so if that's the truth, then you have to make the second visit better than the first one. It can't be the exact same. It has to be better. And how it has to be better is A, make discovery faster, B, make trust easier, and C, make the deal too good to be true, right? So and make it easy for them to make a decision. So that's really where it comes into play. And how we can do that is my next point, which is to see if product discovery can be solved using a wizard. So far, we've not even gone into collections. We've not even gone into products. We're going to go there. And I have a lot of things to talk about in those pages. Those are the more important pages anyways, right? So a lot of the traffic actually lands up on the product page. But it's important to know how much of the traffic goes from the product back to the homepage. So that's something to keep an eye on. But coming back to the second visit of the user, you want to make sure everything is extremely easy. So I'm going to show you what a product selection wizard is. I would like for CareX to experiment this. I would be more than happy to help them with it. But generally speaking, right under this, I would say, not sure what you're looking for, take the quiz, right? So generally, quiz is expected to be long, winding, taking time, etc., etc. So I go into a different experience and I'll just show you how we've done this. So in their case, this is center stage. It does not need to be this prominent in your case, but has to be a part of the site. So I'm looking for a screen for an Apple iPhone 15 Pro, and it takes me straight to the product, right? And this could transform the way people find products in a site like CareX. If you are in any other industry, think back on how you could use this. In their case, they could shop by condition. What's your problem? Is it back pain? Is it bed sores, right? What is your issue? And then once you go into that, then what are you looking for? Are you looking for a brace? Are you looking for a light therapy solution? Are you looking for a cushion? And what that allows you to do is completely turn upside down the way they are interacting with the site at a fundamental level. Right? So that's really going to take it to the next level. The next few things are really simple. Both the next 2 points are kind of together, which is me trying to say that the drop-downs on any website, I don't know why everybody does boring drop-downs. For example, in the case of Legion Athletics, all of these options look exactly the same. So what you're asking the user to do is read it. You're asking them to read clear whey protein powder, whey plus protein powder, plant plus protein powder, casein plus protein powder. So you see what's happening? A lot of repetition. And repetition is boring. In today's world, the repetition is the worst thing you can do. Attention spans are smaller than ever. I'm sure that's not a problem for CareX. They have slightly more senior people in their, in their kitty of customers. But what I want us to still do is make life easy for them. And what I would do to do that is visualize collections as much as possible. For example, I think Dr. Shawl does this really well. I'm going to go to Dr. Shawl's UK website because I was actually working on a problem that they had, and I'm just going to go into. Okay, I think we've made some changes here, and so we don't see exactly what I wanted to show you all. Anyways, I'm going to come back. The idea is to lead with problem. Instead of Dr. Shawl, I'm going to show you another example of ConvertCard customer. So in this case, I go into natural skincare and I'm visualizing the problems, right? So this is eczema company. That's what they solve. They have products that help people that have that issue. And so in the case of CareX, I would visualize all of these dropdowns, but I would specifically visualize all of the problems people are having, which applies to both the dropdown as well as the shop by condition. As a matter of fact, I feel that all of these things look like dropdowns. This is a UX element used to do dropdowns, but it's actually not a dropdown. If I click on this, it actually takes me to a different page. So it's not a dropdown, surprisingly. The final thing I'm going to leave the homepage with and go to the collections page is have 1 or 2 key goals you want to achieve with the homepage, right? So the 1 or 2 most important, most key goals that everybody wants to achieve with the homepage are primarily, in their case, are primarily finish or achieve product discovery. And second is establish trust. If you can just laser focus on those things, your job is done, right? What they're selling in a lot of cases is a painkiller, right? So there's a real problem and they are selling a solution to that problem. There are 2 types of products in the world. There are painkillers and there are health supplements, right? If you don't buy the health supplement, you will still survive, but you have to take the painkiller. And so, yes, their products are not final solutions to the problems that people might be having, but they are positioned as final solutions. So that makes the product a painkiller for the customer that's trying to solve the problem. The customer buys it in the hopes of killing whatever issues that they have. So I understand that the definition of the painkillers versus health supplement is always a big debate, but if we put it like that, I think it's important to make life easy. The last point I have for the homepage is prioritize mobile. I think generally speaking, and I was hoping somebody would point out, which is why I put this point at the end, is why are we even looking at the desktop experience? In their case, I still see value in it because a lot of senior buyers don't prefer surfing on mobile. So that's okay. But in general, making the mobile experience your priority when optimizing, when even building the site is super, super important. So very simply put, if you look at this homepage, and if you look at this heat map, if you realize what's really happening, the most important part, which is this menu, is the hardest to reach part on your mobile screen, right? So if you're on your mobile screen, if you're holding it this way, if you want to reach the menu, you have to reach all the way to the top here. And that's not easy. And so what you want to do is make everything easier, make everything more accessible. In fact, there is no search on mobile, right? So the only way I can search is when I go into that menu and I see this white bar on top. I want to show you an experience for a site that has solved this and done a good job of it. They're called A&B Baby, again, one of our customers. In their case, if you look closely what's happening, their number one business is strollers, right? That's what they do. So the first banner, one category, really focused, followed by trust. And then after trust, what you've got here at the bottom is this menu bar. You see that? So what generally people know, their kind of hunch is that people already have done their research when they come and buy a stroller. They're not doing the research on the shopping side. So they would generally go look at brands, filter by brand, and then go to the next level. So that's, I mean, it's extremely insight-based. And all of that data was made available, and that's when that decision was taken. So that's something to think about. So that's about the CareX's homepage. I'm going to go into collections, and I'm going to speed up a little bit because the next audit, I have less points to cover because I'm already covering a lot of the fundamental things in this one. And then we'll do a repetition just so that everybody's seen a summary, and then I can take questions. So I'm just going to speed up a little bit. If you have any questions or if you want me to slow down, please put a message in the chat and I'm happy to do that. Right? Now, let's talk about the first thing. Now, there are many products here. One of the things you will notice is there are multiple types of CTAs. There are show options, add to cart, and view detail, right? And now let's say I'm somebody who's looking for pillows and I see this view detail option because it looks like an interesting leg wedge pillow. I click on view detail, and as it turns out, the product is out of stock. So that's obviously disappointing. But then it says, hey, you can go on Amazon and buy it. So I click on it and it's a 404. So I think I did not intend to do any bug fixing on this side, but there seems to be some issues. Regardless, I feel misleading the customer into a page that they should not go to is not okay. You should definitely change the CTA to sold out. And when somebody hovers on it is when it should convert to view detail. Does that make sense? Because it's very easy to miss out on this text. It's extremely easy. It's actually impossible to read because the moment I hover, the main title also turns red. So I completely ignore everything that's actually written around it. Also, most people do not look at the text on the collections page. The most important thing on your collections page is the image and the price. Those are the two most important things, price and image, right? The first thing the user does is look at the image, looks at the price, and then reads the text. We've tried this, experimented with this, done surveys, look at user research, and I can very confidently say that this is true for 80 to 90% of all categories and collections and industries that e-commerce is, right? So that's super, super important. First point, handle out of stock better, right? The second thing is quick filter. Now, if you see what's happening here, I chose that I have back pain issue. And I'm seeing a bunch of products here. 2 pages worth of products, really. And so the problem with this whole thing is that I'm not sure what to do now. So what I recommend we do is add a quick filter. And the quick filter can be, what are you really looking to do? Are you looking, so the ways to solve back pain is you either use some kind of therapy, you use some kind of support, or you use some kind of garment. Those are the 3 significant ways in which you can solve it. And so all of these product types, like for example, if I don't know what my solution is, there's no way I can go and pick hot and cold therapy. I really don't know if that's going to solve the problem or not, right? So I should go into therapies and so on. So my limited point here is, just like Spotty Potty did it with us, and we did multiple A/B tests to crack this. If I go into toilet stools as a category, in their case, quick filters right on top, right? What do you want? Do you want stools? Do you want essentials? Do you want bundles? What do you really want, right? And just makes life easy and really simple that way. Finally, on the collections page, if you look at the mobile version, it is very, very. So first of all, the first 1.5 folds are unusable. So there is a 10 unit guide, pain management guide, and buyer's guides. While that's okay, it is sending me to a completely different page. And then it's content. So it's going to be hard for me to go to the next level from there. The second fold is content. And then what I go to next is a stack of products. Look at how long this scroll is. Just keep going. And then I go to the next page and then I just keep going. So again, filtration, not that easy. Mobile experience, not a focus. Really, I think this is a goldmine of opportunities. This site can do a lot better. I'm so confident about it. And I'm just trying to express what I feel as a conversion optimization consultant. And so I don't mean to call the business website ugly. I'm just trying to say that there's a lot that can be done. So now let's go to the next level. Let's go to the main, most important page of the site. So we look at this 7,000 second edition, more than 2 million of these sold, 15 years plus, in general. By the way, KRX itself is more than 50 years. I think about 50 years in experience. So that's phenomenal. I think there's so much pedigree behind the brand. But did you realize that so far? Did you think of KRX as a brand that is 50 years old, has been selling tens and millions of products? No, right? So that's my first most important point about the product page, is I shouldn't have an iota of a doubt that I'm dealing with a company with a very strong legacy. There should be zero doubt. And I would want to eliminate that doubt as quickly as possible, once the user visits. So I think that obviously is super important. Now, let's look at some of the other specific points I have here. First, I want to start with the compliment. Normally, I don't see businesses leveraging product images to pitch the product, right? And I think that's not 100% not okay, because I feel that that is the highest engagement part of your product page. When somebody lands up on your product page, the first thing they do is browse through the product images, whether they're on the phone or desktop, right? And so that's the number one place where you can actually, and that optimization does not need to be A/B tested. You don't need anybody else's help. You don't need to develop. You just need to edit some images and put them on your site. That's it. So you want to communicate how your product is better than the competition, the problems that it solves, all of the different benefits, including battery life, whatever else, everything can be packed into images, packed into the gallery, and you're done. So that's, I think, an often overlooked, and I think it's fantastic that KRX has already solved that. So thumbs up to the team, high five. The next one I'm going to talk about is hyperlinks. So if you see, there is FSA and HSA approved, and it says learn more. If you really see, this learn more CTA is right at the center of the screen. So it is extremely hard to ignore for a normal human. And so if I click on it, the other thing that happens, which in CRO terms is taboo, it's forbidden, is you take the customer away from a transaction page because you've taken them to whole certification, etc., right? And I recommend we open it in a new tab or maybe inside of a large pop-up or something like that, but please don't take the customer away from the product page. Let's make sure that we don't do that. The next one I'm going to talk about is highlighting value. So the other thing that has happened is, if you see, there are great value props here, right? So no pain is the same, fully customizable. That's such an important element of this product, right? And then you got a ton of description here, a lot of text. And so the problem with that is that you've lost the customer by second fold, and then it's slowly coming back. So you're highlighting all of but then by the time you go to the third fold, there's cognitive overload. There's too much happening, right? I would really want to look at the heat map for this page and see how many people actually go this far. Second, how many people actually click on any of this, and how does it really work? How many people watch these videos? So what you want to do without cramming too much into the first fold is use rich content a little bit more instead of all of this text. I know this helps with the SEO, but there are smart ways to manage the organization of the page to solve that, right? I think essentially highlighting value prop outside of images is going to be very, very critical. The last 3 points on the product page, very quickly, FAQs. I want everybody to look at a simple metric. How many customers that you know on your site go to the FAQ page and then convert? I would want you to look at that metric. Look at your conversion rate for people who visited the FAQ page and then converted. I can guarantee you it will be 15 times, if not more, than your average conversion rate, because only the highest intent customer will have that question. But also that questions and the way the brand articulates answers to those questions is a fantastic way to convince your buyer. It's a great way to do that. So what I would simply do is add a button that says, not sure if this is for you, and then take them to FAQs. Try and answer some concerns they have. How does this work? Fundamentally, how this works is it releases endorphins. I did some research. It releases endorphins, and that solves pain for you. So, I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but generally speaking, that's what I think it does. but then that's something that can concern me as well, right? And how are you alleviating those concerns? So I think the brand has to proactively justify 5 things. The first is value. Am I getting my money's worth? Quality, longevity, and ability to solve problem in this case. Trust justification. Am I the only one buying this? In this case, this product has more than 2 million sales, but only 53 reviews. So I would want to pivot away from reviews into testimonials and try and win the customer that way. Loss aversion. Will I lose something if I don't act right now? Right? In healthcare, that's not easy to do. But generally speaking, what I would say here is, 80% of the customers that use this product reported their problem solved in the next 10 days. So that's what you're losing out if you don't buy. Simplicity. Is it easy to buy, easy to use, easy to recommend? Show the product in action. There are a few videos on the page, so that's great, but I would want to prioritize them. And then finally is identity alignment. Is this for me? Call out your ICP, call out your customer profile, saying, hey, more than 10,000 health practitioners use our product. Right? More than 1 million people use this daily, and so on and so forth. So I think that would go a long way. Finally, one of the things we've always emphasized on is to convince people to buy from you directly instead of sending them to Amazon and Walmart. I understand that in some cases they might handle logistics, so it makes life easy. But having the customer data to retain them, to cross-sell is, I'm confident, is 100 times more easy, 100 times better than making shipping easy. So in this case, I found a small nugget. When you go to Walmart and buy this product, they only offer 30-day returns. Whereas if you buy direct with brand, the brand offers 90-day returns. The interesting thing is to find that information, is to realize that it took me about 8 or 10 minutes of auditing the site, right? Because I never really went to the return policy. I completely ignored it earlier. So I think this 90 days return is a huge, huge benefit to anybody who's trying to buy from the website. And I feel the brand can go a long way to emphasize on that, so the people pick the website instead of any of the other ways to buy the product. And now the final part of the audit, which is I'm going to go to the cart page. I just have 3 simple suggestions. The first, most important suggestion is I would remove all possible distractions from your cart page. So I would remove the nav bar, the search bar. I would remove everything. Absolutely no distractions needed. Even the footer is that. This is what I would want your cart to do, right? What that does is it focuses the user on exactly what they're supposed to be doing, right? The hello bar is talking about some 50% discount. The nav bar is showing them 10 other categories. It's not needed. They are now in the final part of the journey. You cannot potentially, if you want to cross-sell products, there are smart ways to do this, but focus on removing distractions. The second is add user-generated content for trust. I'm going to show you Legion. They do a fantastic job with that in the checkout. So I'm going to go to the checkout with Legion. I'm going to move the chat over to this side. And just go back here. There's actually too much on my screen, so I'm just gonna, okay, yes, I am a human. Add to cart. And if I go to checkout for them, right? So there's so much happening here. So no return necessary, money back guarantee, right? Some solid testimonials from verified customers. I would have liked the picture of the customer as well to make it even more legitimate. But that's really where I'm trying to go with this. And then adding transactional trust. Are returns easy? What do I do about complaints? And do you have any guarantees? Right? So that sums up CareX. Coming back to the homepage really quickly, I hope that this was helpful. I'm going to go to the next website very quickly. We don't have too much time, so I'm not going to add anything else here for the time being. I have some additional points with Legion Athletics. Now, I want to be clear. A lot of the things that I mentioned on CareX are relevant for Legion as well, right? The drop down, focusing a little bit more on search, the product selection wizard. I spoke about a lot of different things. But generally speaking, I feel that a lot of the points are overlapping. So the Legion team is on the call, and I hope they're able to connect the dots and do that. But I have some solid points for Legion alone. And now I'm going to get a little bit more psychological. So I hope this adds more value, but I'm going to be very fast with it. The first thing, the most important thing you can do as a business is have a mind-blowing opt-in on your website. I want to see a world where people stop doing boring opt-ins. I want to see a world where people stop creating barter. Take 50% off and give me your email, right? Take this and give that. That's not the right way to do opt-ins anymore. People are tired of it. This opt-in, for example, in the case of Legion, is a full screen opt-in. Can you imagine? It's a full screen opt-in. And it says BOGO up to 50% off. You know what happens if I close this opt-in? I'll show you what happens. If I close this opt-in, it shows me another opt-in, which also shows me the same offer. And then if I close that as well, and I go to the product page, I get the BOGO anyways. I don't need the opt-in. I would still get the same offer. So really speaking, it's essentially interruption, and it does not reflect well on any brand. And I know most brands do this. It's not Legion. Everybody does. So what I want you to do instead of creating opt-ins is to create games, is to create engagement, right? So I want to show you a few examples of how we've done this. This is one example, 757 Sports Collectibles. There's a player, there's a ball. I click the ball and the player kicks it, and then I get to the next level. There's Carnivore Bar. I open the bar, and then that happens, right? So I have another one very quickly. World Wine, again, very interesting. I think in this case, we've already turned it off. That's why I didn't bring it up. Okay, there you go. So in this case, I pop the champagne and I win a mystery. So there's countless ways in which you can do this. Your opt-in rate should be above 8%. If you're not collecting emails from above 8% of all your new website traffic, there's something wrong. So I would want you to revisit that. Why am I emphasizing on this so much? For a health supplement brand, for any brand, but most importantly for a health supplement brand, retention is a life and death, is a question of life and death. It's extremely important for a business such as this to have repeat purchases, retention, to recover abandoned carts, etc., etc. So I feel that if you're not optimizing for opt-ins, there's going to be trouble, right? Now, I was talking about going psychological with this one. I'm going to get into that. So now let's take a moment to just absorb what Legion is doing, right? They're talking about you don't need supplements to build muscle, lose fat. You know, what you need is, that's why over 1 million discerning fitness folks choose Legion. So they're saying we are clinically effective, naturally sweetened, tested for purity. Bottom line being they're a clean health supplement. The other part of this bottom line is that's not the first time I'm hearing, right? I am not somebody who's a health freak or a gym freak. I'm sure you were able to make that out in the conversation so far by looking at me. But still, I've heard of that again, right? Everybody tries to claim that. So what makes you different? They try and make an attempt to do that as well. They say, hey, what's really happening? Compare our whey protein with competition, right? So we are a whey protein isolate, no added sugars, naturally sweetened, etc., etc. So all of those things kind of stand out. What's really happening here is there are two types of people that are coming to the site again. People who know what they want, they know the brand, they are in the consideration or the decision stage. So they're here to decide if they want to buy or not. But there are a lot of people still coming to Legion who might have looked at their competition, which is, I think, called Transparent Supplement, and a few other brands. And they are coming to the site after looking at a Reddit review or something like that. And they're saying, okay, let me see if this is for me. And what Legion is doing is it's creating, to some degree, analysis paralysis. Why? I'll tell you that. First of all, we get the story about this. And then instead of just two options, because really the cash cows are whey protein and pre-workout. So I don't need to know most popular and non-sale. What I need to know is whey protein and pre. So essentially, I don't need 4 options. I need to focus, right? The second thing is when I go into the next fold where I'm being convinced about it being the #1 brand, everything is just text. So even if I click on any of this, it would bring up a text-based pop-up. And then the thing is, I would love for Legion to use rich media as much as possible. And that applies to all brands that I know of. Okay. So I'm going to show you one more website, one of ConvertCart's customers, Patrick Sullivan Jr., long-term customer. And I want to show you, and I think it will make itself clear on its own. But generally speaking, I just want us to see the amount of focus that has gone into cracking this homepage, right? So again, they're running a sale, so a lot of focus on that. Top-rated best-selling products. Influencers and health leaders love it. Featured in. Clarity upfront. We are not the cheapest. There, we said it. We spend a great deal of our own money to partner with companies whose products and to work and who do business the way that we want to do business. That means only the highest quality ingredient, and so on and so on. So a very simple story from the CEO, right? Very simple. What can you expect from us? And then customer reviews, social media, customer testimonials, so on and so forth, right? So 80% of the homepage is creating trust, but not because of what the brand wants to say. It's because of what everybody else is trying to say. It's the medical kind of industry backing them. It's their own customers, etc. That's the difference. So with Legion, I want the brand to absorb one very simple thing, which is that their customers should do the talking on their behalf. And I think that will change the way they are perceived by new people that are just discovering it, right? The other thing is, apart from using rich media, health supplement is one of the most trust-heavy industries. It's extremely difficult to establish trust and keep trust. And so to be able to do that, they have to make trying the brand very easy. And so what if I go into whey protein at the moment, I can buy one purchase, I can buy it once, right? Or I can subscribe. I can do both of those things, right? But the minimum that I can get is about 15 servings. So that, I mean, I can show you hundreds of protein and supplement brands that can do smaller servings. So I feel they have to really justify why that much is necessary for people to actually try this. And I think that would go a long way. So that's about the homepage. Very simple. I think a lot of the points that I mentioned earlier apply to Legion as well on the homepage. I'm not going to go deeper into what else is happening. For example, in most popular products, there's a lot happening. Everything is on BOGO. So I'm not sure about that. But also, there are just too many options, right? So there is Triumph for Men, there's fish oil, plant protein, etc., etc. I think if the user is a repeat visitor, you want to show them a completely different set of suggestions compared to when they're a new visitor, in which case you would want to stick to showing them the top 2 products that they're likely to buy, or even do a product selection wizard like I showed you earlier, saying, hey, what are you looking for? I'm looking for a whey protein. What do you want? I want a naturally sweetened whey protein. What kind of, do you work out? Do you want a pre-workout as well? And then you kind of create a cart for them and, make life easy. So let's go to the product page. I just have a few points left, then I'll open it up for questions. I think we have about 8 minutes to go, which is why I'm rushing a little bit. So the first thing, I've already emphasized on this enough. User-generated content is 100 times more effective than brands' promises, right? So what happens here is there are 11,000 phenomenal reviews, but the brand talks a lot. So if you see what is included, why, Legion weigh 25 grams per serving, then we go into naturally sweetened, then we go into comparison, then we go into the same benefits, and then we see reviews, right? So that's third fold. And then when we go to actual reviews, the great reviews, FAQs, that's it. So I just feel that the priority should be to establish trust using the hundreds of thousands of people that actually buy their product. If you actually look at Perplexity or any other search engine and just look for Legion, they have great reviews everywhere. The only concern that people have about them is that they're expensive. And so that's my next suggestion, is know what people dislike about you. Right? Because when the user is more research now than ever, and slowly what's going to happen is the product discovery that's happening today on Facebook and Instagram ads and Google is going to switch to ChatGPT and Perplexity and the likes. And so people are going to say, hey, find me the best quality whey protein, which is recommended by most people and is vegan and is naturally sweetened. And you will rank only if the internet says you're amazing. So if you have that by your side, you have to really tom about it to actually win, right? So that's obviously super important. Statistically validate customer reviews. So if you don't want to do testimonials and reviews, just put a single statement, right? 85% of the people that buy Legion see improvements in after protein experience within the first 3 days. The remaining 15% see it in 3 weeks, right? So something on those, smart usage of words to establish that lots and lots of people are seeing the value. And finally, leverage a good quality survey. I feel surveys are underrated. So in their case, they already know what the potential reasons are for people to not buy. I'm not sure about the quality, not sure about the price. And then if they pick any of those options, send them to the answer to that question, right? So if they say, not sure about the ingredients, send them to why the ingredients are so awesome. Like there's this graphic on their homepage, which is actually pretty awesome. So I'm going to show you that. This one, right? Our secret, we spend more on a lot more, right? So other companies have a lot of marketing puffery, etc., etc. So they have, they have to they can't spend as much on product as Legion can. I think the visual representation is a little confusing, but the bottom line point is being driven fairly well. No cheap fillers, no cut rate ingredients, no itty-bitty doses. This is Legion, right? So they're trying to really drive the point home. Coming back, the final point about their cart is don't try too hard to sell. So if I go to the cart here, if you see what's happening, right? I've added something to the cart. I go to checkout. And for a second, what the user feels is that it's Pulse pre-workout that I've bought. Whereas actually what's in the cart is the Whey Plus, right? You see how the product that I've bought is not visualized. What I'm being sold is being visualized. So it's okay, but I would want to A/B test that. I feel it's creating some confusion, some friction, and I want to be cautious about that. So that's another one. All right, folks, thank you so much. I was actually doubtful about covering 2 full websites in the time that was with us. I am so glad that I was able to cover that many points. But I really hope that I was able to add the value I was hoping to add. I hope a lot of these ideas are usable. You can go back and implement some of them. I know some of you were not able to stick around till the end, but yeah, I just want to make sure I add as much value as possible. So if you have any questions, I'm sticking around. I'm right here. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. If you want us to do a teardown of your site, I know you've already submitted. We'd be happy to do that. Somebody will reach out, or I'll reach out. I know a couple of you have messaged here. So I'll respond to you as well over email. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take that. And if the KRX and Legion team are on the call, because there are too many people, I'm just going through the names. I apologize if I offended you in any way, but I just wanted to make sure it's as much learning as possible. So I hope this was useful information. Okay, Brandon, thanks so much. I love that you take it constructively. That's phenomenal. Speaks volumes about the culture at KRX. Brilliant. Any questions, folks? Yeah, Kimberly, yes, there will be a replay. Once we publish it, it will be in your inbox. And yeah, the replay, if you missed the first 3 or 4 minutes, it was just ZZ Talk. I just played music and let everybody join. So yeah. Masida, yes, I'm aware. I'm actually already on the call next week. I will be there, and I look forward to speaking with you. I think there's a lot of potential, and I think something's not right, and I'll jump in and I'll make sure that we fix it. Thanks so much, Kimberly. Arijit, I'll be in touch. Thank you. All right, perfect. I think this is it. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Have a good one.